Welcome to episode 395 of the Postal Hub podcast. I'm Ian Kerr. In this episode, I'm joined by world-renowned postal and delivery expert Alan Barrie. We're going to talk about the UK delivery scene and out-of-home delivery in the UK. This interview was recorded at the Omnic stand at Parcel and Post Expo in 2025, so we've got a bit of that live vibe happening. So coming up in a moment, Alan Barrie on UK delivery.
I'm here with Alan Barrie. Alan, no
Yes.
one knows the UK market like you do. There you go. I'm already pumping up your tyres. This is great. We've seen some really big announcements. There's a company called Royal Mail that's bought 49% share in, I want to say Collect Plus.
Yes, yeah, it's a big one.
And they've made big announcements with parcel lockers.
Yep.
You've got InPost. You've got Amazon. You've got a company called Yeep.
Oh, yes.
So there's a lot happening in out-of-home at the moment in the UK. Why?
It's an interesting one, I think, partly because they've seen what's happened elsewhere in other markets, and they've come to the conclusion there's something in it. It's partly from the big guys coming in, InPost and Amazon, coming in and stirring things up. So that's the disruption, if you like, in the UK market, especially InPost, actually. Yeah. Amazon were there and consolidated and have been growing their delivery presence. But InPost came in as a direct competitor.
Yeah. Somebody put it to me the other day that Royal Mail actually invented out-of-home delivery with their Deliver to Neighbour concept. So it's not a new thing, some might say. Did Deliver to Neighbour really break the ice, do you think, when it comes to out-of-home delivery?
To a certain extent it did, but all it was doing, they were trying to do, was just to improve their first-time delivery.
Right.
First-time home delivery.
Isn't that all we're trying to do, though, with lockers?
It's a variant.
Isn't that all it's about, just saying we've got first-time delivery?
Not quite. I mean, let's look at the London context, right? So we started off looking at London, 3.5 million places that all these companies are delivering to every day.
That's delivery points in London.
So that's addresses, delivery points in London, 3.5 million. So it's a good sample from the UK, a big one. And we modelled that, completely modelled it to try and work out the proximity if you were to put an alternative network in place. The work we did with TfL, using their modellers, who are brilliant, by the way. And we did that, and we came up with an answer. At the same time, a very large company, American company, with a platform, beginning in A, did exactly the same thing using their mass data. And they came to a separate number. And we, in discussion with them, they said, you show us yours and we'll show you ours. In doing that, they came up with a number that was only 147 locations different. So it was between 9,800 and 10,000. Yep, and we were pretty much on the button. And they said, we're thinking the same way, let's have a chat about this, because they were finding it difficult to get into public spaces. So there is a potential, if you're going to do an end game, then that's what it would be. But my question is this a nice to have added bolt-on, or are companies really serious about this being a new way of delivering? If you go right back to the beginning, Royal Mail invented P.O. boxes many, many years ago, for letters. Is this an awful lot different?
Well, I could talk about that for a few hours, probably, Alan. But when we talk, you mentioned 3.5 million.
3.5 million
points
to 10,000. So would you rather deliver to 3.5 million places or 10,000 places? You do the maths. Any logistics O-grade student would work out that there are millions of road miles to be saved, and the productivity of an individual driver goes up from 150 parcels a day to anything from 1,500 to 2,000 a day in the end game, as we're already seeing in Poland.
So the cynic then says, all you're doing is pushing the work onto the consumer.
That could be the accusation. The question is, at which point does the convenience of home delivery become an inconvenience? The more you shop, the more you have to sit around waiting for drivers. Yeah. So where is the inconvenience of convenience in home delivery? At which point does that happen? And at which point are you better off having something very close to your house where you can decide when you go and pick up that item? So as one person put it to me recently, why wait for your parcel when your parcel will wait for you?
There's another way of looking at it, some would say, which is how can we improve home delivery so you don't have to be there? We've seen projects in Ireland, we've seen that sort of worked and others that have not worked when it comes to a home delivery locker. Now, anybody listening or watching this will say, okay, Ian, who pays for that? Yeah. My statement is always, well, who pays for the parcel locker? Yeah. So is there a point, do you think, when we're talking about what is the end game here? Is it we're going to move as much as we can to out of home, whether it's lockers, Pudo points, whatever it might be? Or do we say, well, hang on, there are going to be some customers, the more you shop online, the more parcels you receive. There are going to be some of those frequent shoppers that, why don't we just get them in a box? Or am I living in a fantasy land here, Alan? No, it is possible.
I think that home delivery is, in its widest sense, unsustainable. Yeah, whether you're talking environmental terms or whether you're talking in economic terms. The question is there something that you can replace it with which is business efficient, but also actually provides something which the customer likes better? Until you've actually put something like that in place, customers will always say, I want it at home. So any market I've looked at, any study I've looked at in the last 25 years says first choice is home delivery until customers are given a viable option and they vote with their feet.
And that viable option, that comes the matrix of how close it is. Yeah. Is there a price differential to the consumer when they're buying online? All those things like that, right? You're frowning at me, Alan. Does that mean that you don't agree with me?
No, I do agree with you. That's what's frightening me. It's horrible. It's horrible. I have agreed with you. My message, I think, is to anybody toying with out of home is if you think this is an add-on, don't do it, because all it'll do is increase your costs and provide you with additional complexity. You've actually got to commit into it and actually get to a point where this is not 5% or even 25% of your volume. It starts to get interesting after 50%. And when you get to where Estonians are at 80%, then you've got a really interesting model when that is the default. And home delivery is either for those who cannot pick up, there may be mobility issues, age issues, or it's a choice. But a choice probably at a premium price.
I've also heard it said, when you shop online, you know how big the thing is that you're buying. So if you've bought something like you've bought a 6-pack of wine or whatever it might be, do you really want to collect that from a parcel shop, or would you prefer that to be delivered to you at home because it's heavy? Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're heavier things than that. That's just the first thing that came to mind. 12 packs of dog food, right? I see them in the postal world. They're carrying these hugely heavy parcels that are north of 20 kilograms. Yep. Surely that's part of it. Get them delivered to the home. Part of me says don't deliver them at all. I think people should be shopping in shops. But anyway, if they've ordered the dog food online, there's 20 kilograms of dog food. That's part of that decision-making matrix as well, isn't it?
I think so, and there's always going to be considerable exceptions or significant exceptions, whether that's to do with the recipient and their mobility, their ability to go and pick something up, or whether it's to do with the nature of what's being bought. Liquid, for example, you might find that there's no alcohol in a locker or no flammable items or whatever it might be.
There are all kinds of controlled substances. Yeah. It might be high value as well. Yeah, exactly. You want a high value thing signed for by the recipient. So you were talking about the mix of delivery options. One of the things you hear or sort of whispered in the back corridors is, we haven't got the right network utilisation of our parcel lockers or things like that. How do you help consumers understand those choices? It's got to be more than just, here's the option at checkout. I mean, how can we educate consumers so that they're making a decision that's right for them consumer-centric, environment-centric, whatever it might be. What's the path there?
I think that's one of the most important things of all. And it's about conversion at the end of the day and helping people to make a considered decision. First thing is that people won't just do it because it's perceived to be greener. I got an early lesson from Rory Sutherland, Vice Chair of Ogilvy, who said to me, Alan, don't assume that everyone's going to go to a locker because it's greener. Yep, a third of the people might. They'll just vote with their feet and say, it's greener, I'm going to do it. The other 2/3 of people are much more selfish than that. They'll only do it if there's something in it for them. So it's either more convenient for them for whatever reason, or it's cheaper for them. Now, if you're going to 10,000 places as opposed to 3.5 million, then it's got to be cheaper at the end of the day once you get to the other side. Yeah, it's just a bolt-on cost. When you're doing 5-10% of your volumes. But if you get to the other side and get to 50, 75%, you're starting to get into the pricing differential and the true potential of this. So there's a lot to play at in that space.
And there's so many more questions. Things like, I mentioned before, but not using the locker enough.
Yeah.
It's running at 40%, 45% capacity. Other people saying, we have too much capacity. I can't deliver to that locker because people aren't collecting quick enough. There's all these other issues around it, aren't there? We're trying to right-size the network.
I'd like that to be the right case. I think the bigger challenge is the conversion in the first place and filling up the capacity. I think capacity is going out there and generally speaking will be filled eventually. But I think you started the question off by saying, well, how do you help people to make choice? So when I buy a fridge, or a deep freeze, I have an A, B, C, D, E, F categorization of its efficiency on it. If I buy a house, for goodness sake, I've got an A, B, C, D, E, F categorization of how efficient that one is. Where's that standard on a delivery? Is that for each carrier to work out how they sell that into?
Because that's what's happening now. You've got a couple of very big Europeans who've got their own carbon measurement tool.
Is that the right measure?
Well, I don't know.
They can justify
don't pay
it.
Me enough for that. But the question then becomes, how do you compare those two models? They're only active in a couple of markets, right?
Yeah.
And how trustworthy are they? I hear outlandish claims made in our sector from time to time when it comes to sustainability or emissions and things like that, which damages our sector. So I believe that there is a need. I don't know who's going to drive it, whether it be the IPC or I don't know who, to say, well, let's have a standardised, granular, somehow, reporting so that a consumer, because this is all consumer-driven. It's not driven by Amazon, ultimately. The consumer has to shop on Amazon or on Allegro or on Vinted or wherever. They have to actually shop. And then so they're actually presented with data that stands up to scrutiny. That's not going to get a regulator grumpy. Well,
exactly. And it has to be somebody who is a credible, accredited, independent valuer, if you like, to create those values on them.
If that's
this
you,
is the pecking
contact
order.
the number on your screen now.
Actually, CEN, when I was a European living in Europe, CEN, the European standards body, started looking at this. I'm not quite sure what that is now, but they were actually trying to create those measures. I don't know if it's CEN or the energy standards people in the UK looking at these things, but I think it needs to be somebody independent and accredited to look across. The industry would have to accept that as a proper measure of the relative efficiency of different delivery methods. And that's quite a tricky thing to get them to agree to.
And that comes down to what we were talking about before, consumer education.
Yeah.
Because I could select out-of-home delivery. It's more efficient for the carrier, let's say.
Yep.
And then I drive there. We know immediately that undoes all of the good work, right? So how can I then be educated as a consumer so I'm making the right choice? There's a lot going on there, and we don't want to, as somebody used to say all the time, you don't want to boil the ocean on this.
No,
one, right?
I'm sure.
We could talk for probably another 5 hours, but we probably shouldn't because the battery's low on the camera. Everybody, thank goodness, some of you are saying probably. We've got a bit carried away here, Alan. But these are important things that we're sort of discussing. We're not going to say in an offhand manner. This is a very casual discussion here, but they're very serious topics that our sector has to address to ensure credibility with the consumer and then the various industry stakeholders, regulators, government, because ultimately they're going to start asking questions at some point.
They are. I'll leave you with the thought, just to shut me down on this one, Ian, has it been done before? We started talking about PO boxes and reinventing wheels on this one. Has it been done before? So the question is, has a nationwide walkable network been created for? And I can think of two, which were created by the GPO probably, not even Royal Mail. One is the postbox network. They still use of 115,000 postboxes, a walking network. And that's what it's designed for, so people could walk and access the network. And the other one is phone boxes. Red phone boxes at their peak were 90,000 in the UK. So Royal Mail starting to talk about doubling 24,000 to over 45,000, maybe having to triple that number. They're starting to get interesting walkable network levels at that stage. So I think the numbers are starting to emerge, and people are starting to think now of destination rather than journey, and that's a good thing.
We might leave it on that note, Alan. Alan Barrie, thanks for joining us today.
Okay, no problem.
That's all for this episode of the Postal Hub podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast in your favourite podcast platform, and please leave a review. It'd be great if you'd leave a review or a 5-star rating or something like that, just to let me know that you've been listening, maybe that you appreciate it, something like that anyway. So leave a review, leave a rating, that'd be great. Thank you. If you aren't already subscribed to one of my great email newsletters, head on over to thepostalhub.com and follow the links to sign up for either my weekly newsletter or my daily delivery digest or something like that. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow the Postal Hub podcast on LinkedIn. And it would be better than a lot of the AI-generated slop that it is sloshing around on LinkedIn right now. It is genuinely atrocious. Anyway, if you want to email me about anything at all, my email address is ian@thepostalhub.com. I'm Ian Kerr. Thanks for listening in, and I look forward to your company next time on the Postal Hub podcast.